All right, we are live. What is happening, y'all? What is going on? Hope everybody is doing well tonight. We will have a pretty interesting discussion today. Just give me 1 second. I'm just pulling something up. Um, Sorry, I'm just trying to get my notes together. Hope everybody is doing well today. Hope everybody's Saturday was productive or their weekend's been productive. We got a couple things that we're going to discuss here before we get into tonight's topic. So I know y'all already know what the topic is. Hey, baby, how you doing? Glad you were able to make it into the space. So I'm going to go ahead and wait some time to let people come on in because there is going to be an interesting discussion we're going to have tonight, and I don't want people to miss this discussion. So yeah, give me 1 second to pull up the notes, and then I'm gonna probably try to give y'all 5 minutes and let people come on in before I get started and whatnot. But yeah, if you are now getting into my comment space, I would love it if you let me know how you were doing, what's been going on with you this weekend, how's everything been. Let's see, I'll go ahead and pull that up. 1 second here. All right, so I'm good to go there. We got a lot going on. Yojo Brand, what's popping? Glad you were able to make it. I'm gonna wait for a few more people to come on in, and we will, like I said, get started. But yes, there's a lot of updates that I want to kind of give you all. I want to go through them before we really get into tonight's topic. Let's see here. Okay, so that's good. Yeah, like I said, I'm gonna get started in 5 minutes or so. But for those who are coming in and actually don't know about what I'm talking about tonight, it will be about whether or not the Democrats disrespected Jesse Jackson's funeral. So, in other words, did they disrespect Jesse Jackson's funeral, and did they disrespect Jesse Jackson Jr.? So, we're going to get into that entire discussion today. But again, let me just wait for people to come on in. So let me go ahead and tell you all who are already here about some of the updates that I have going on while we're waiting for people to come into the space. So the first thing that I want to let people know, I have a membership channel that I would love for you to take advantage of. So for this membership channel, I say this in a lot of my videos. If you've been watching them, I have a preview tier, a plus tier, and then also a premium tier that you can take advantage of. And usually these videos are more exclusive than the ones that you see on my regular channel. So there'll be times where I may, throw videos on there, like for example, on the plus channel where I talk about, an additional point that I made on a video that you listen to on my regular channel. But then there's other things you can get as well too. You have membership based polls where it's exclusive and you all get to vote on what you would like to hear next and what you would like for me to talk about next. And then if you get the premium channel, then you would be able to get an exclusive look into my comic and creative world in general. So you'll get to see more about what I'm doing with my comic book, what I'm doing with my books that are upcoming, what I'm doing with other projects, what's going on with lectures, what's going on with speaking, because there's a lot of things that are going on in the Cool Colas world that are even beyond what you see from the videos that I do on here. Because I typically talk about, commentary related to pro-blackness or anti-black racism, or I talk about racism in WWE. I typically talk about those topics, but there's so much more that I do. And as you join that membership channel, you'll get to see a lot of the ins and outs that come with the things that I'm doing with those channels. So definitely subscribe to that if you have not already, because there is a lot that you can get from that. Another thing, a couple more updates. So Fridays, for people who don't know, if you can't tell already, Fridays are going to be the official day where I do my Is This Wrestler Racist video series. A lot of people have been liking that series, so I'm definitely going to keep it up. And I'm going to have y'all vote on who you want me to talk about next, who you want me to go into next. If you have not checked it out, there is a video right now on there currently about Stone Cold Steve Austin. I did that video yesterday, actually. So you should go and check that out if you have not yet. It's getting pretty hot. A lot of people are watching it and responding and commenting. So you definitely want to make sure you check that out. Other updates as well too. This coming week, I'll be doing a video on um, the overt Sambo Coon trope. So you'll get to kind of hear my thoughts on that as well. So be on the lookout. It will be coming sometime this week. Um, on Thursday, March the 26th, 2026, I will be doing a speech. It will a lecture called Breaking Down the Screen. I was originally going to do that in February, but it got moved to late March. So if you would like to join that, I will be putting information sometime this week in one of my posts. So you'll be able to sign up for it as well. If that's something that you want to see, I would definitely love to have you there. And then the last thing that I'll say really quick is for anybody who is in the space right now, I would love it if you were to hit the super chat for me. Please hit the super chat. It would be much appreciated. All right, so we're a little past the 5-minute mark, and I want to go ahead and just get into the topic for tonight. And this is a topic that you all voted on, and I wanted to make sure that I took some time to deliver. I wish I could have done it on Thursday, but I had some stuff going on, so I wasn't really able to do it. Regardless, what I want to talk to you all about tonight is, did the Democrats disrespect Jesse Jackson's funeral? And I also talk about how Jesse Jackson Jr. spoke out about this. So the first thing that I want to say to you all is that, and this is a disclaimer in case you didn't hear me speak about this in a previous video. I am not a Democrat. I am not a Republican. I don't associate myself with either political party. I'm not somebody who is all about the liberals, all about the conservatives. That's just not my jam. I'm somebody who is politically independent. And another way to maybe describe me, if you just had to, was you could say that I'm maybe apolitical, but I'm apolitical when it comes to more pop politics, because there's political things like political tangibles and things like that that are very important and will always be at the core of things that I believe in and will strive for. But at the same time, there are things that I simply just don't give a shit about, as far as, trying to join one side of the fence or the other. So I'm not somebody who is ever going to make a video about the Democrats or the Republicans under the guise that I am on one side or another. If I make any criticism about any person, whatever political affiliation they're at, whether they're on the Democratic side, whether they're on the Republican side, if I'm making a criticism about either side, it's simply because these are my opinions or these are facts that I was able to kind of tell you about, and then I'm giving my analysis on what I see, and there happens to be a criticism in them. But you will never hear me just speak against one side or the other because I support the opposite side. I'm simply giving my opinion on how I think about one thing or another. If the Democrats or the Republicans were to align with some type of political agenda that leads to a tangible that I support, then I would support them. But I do not support either party. So that's the first thing I want to throw out there. The second thing that I wanted to say is, when it comes to the whole subject of Jesse Jackson Jr. and Jesse Jackson's funeral, I want to kind of just go back to a video that I did. I think what was it, maybe like a week or two ago. I did a video where I talked about my thoughts on Jesse Jackson post his death. And I wanted to talk more about kind of what I said there. But basically, I told people I'm not the biggest fan of Jesse Jackson per se. I'm not somebody who either looked up to him and, respected his ideals. I just wasn't that type of guy. So that I kind of laid it out there, but I understood that there were people who felt differently about that. And I could see where people are coming from in certain instances and that type of thing. But he's just not somebody that I aligned with when it came to his ideals. And I also made a video, I also said in that video that the main thing that I did not support was the term African American. I like foundational Black American much better. I like the specific, I don't know how to say it, but the specific way that we talk about one's lineage. That's what I that's the main reason why I like the term foundational Black American to describe a specific lineage on the basis of delineating. But when it came to Jesse Jackson, when he made the African American term, people ran with it, and it kind of muddied the waters when it came to talking about lineages. It's specifically like the Black American lineage, and I talked about how that was just problematic in general. So that's not something that I supported. And I also said when he died, I believe African American as a term should die as well too. And I wasn't trying to say that to be insensitive. I was just simply saying that that's just something I didn't support. Now, when it comes to Jesse Jackson's death, I also said, people should, respect the fact that he did die. Rest in peace to him. I did say that as well, too. And same goes for the conversation that we're having tonight. So for those of you all who do not know, Jesse Jackson Jr., who is Jesse Jackson's son, he had a statement that he made before his father's funeral even went on. And his statement was kind of like an invite slash boundary setting type of thing. And he basically said, he's opening the doors for everybody to come in and celebrate his father's life and his legacy and all this other stuff for the funeral. And he also, in addition to that, talked about how he wanted people to just leave their politics behind. He didn't care if you were conservative. He didn't care if you were Democratic. He didn't care like what side of the fence that you basically stood on. His whole thing was just come and support my father. So he laid it out on the table, in my opinion, very directly and in a way that I think anybody could respect and could just really just get down with, to be quite honest. And so what ended up happening was, Torian, what's popping? Appreciate you coming through, bro. But when it came to Jesse Jackson's funeral, I felt like his son laid it out on the table. He made it very clear what he was cool with, what he wasn't cool with. And he basically told people, come, just be respectful and, celebrate my father's legacy and just leave it at that. But don't make this political, And then after all of this went down, one thing that everybody noticed when they watched this funeral was that they did exactly what he asked them not to do. They did the same thing at Aretha Franklin's funeral. I heard about that, actually. I heard about that. The thing is that, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more later. I think that they're using Black death as political campaigns and marketing campaigns. So I think that's part of the problem there, is that anytime a Black person dies, when they're either famous, like they're known to be a celebrity, or they're known to be some type of activist, like somebody who's just well known or well respected, they use their death as a platform to try to market their political opinions and strategies. But anyway, I didn't know about Aretha Franklin. Yeah, I heard about it. I heard about it actually, babe. So yeah, most definitely. And I'll say this about funerals. Me personally, I am not someone who really likes to go to funerals. I don't like funerals and I don't like to go to them. And I'm going to tell you the main reason why. I've talked about this quite a bit, but when it comes to funerals, I think that they tend to bring out the worst in people. So I don't dislike funerals for the sake that it's just a sad event, but I think that it just tends to bring out like people's worst sides. I think a lot of times people don't know what to say. And a lot of people really are into this idea of coping with things and trying to look for happy endings. When something hits the fan, they try to find a way to latch on to something that's positive. And so when there's a funeral, there's just not really too much that you can latch onto. So you just say any fucking thing, and everybody copes with it a little bit differently. And what I've noticed is that a lot of this acting a fool that happens even at funerals is because of the standards that a lot of these old niggas have set. And I've talked about them time and time and time again. And one of the things that I've said before when it came to the old niggas is that they're not just a problem when it comes to pro-blackness, when it comes to Black empowerment, when it comes to tackling racism. They're a problem in general. I mean, they are just the bane of Black existence. I'm just going to be totally honest with you. I don't have any love for old niggas. I respect elders. I have no fucking love for old niggas. And I will keep talking shit about how fucked up they are. With that being said, a lot of them have set the standard when they go into certain places, even funerals. Because I can even just tell you from my own experiences, I've dealt with a lot of these old Negroes just being disrespectful, rude, and that type of thing, even when I have people in my life who are important to me who pass away. And here's the problem with a lot of their weird behavior and their disrespect. The problem is that they have a certain way they're cool with dealing with Black people, but when other people are around, they let them do anything, and they will just not dare to act a certain way when they go in their backyard. And we'll get into why I made that particular point. But my point is that a lot of these old Negroes, they have these skewed boundaries. They love to cross boundaries with certain people, but then they don't cross other people's boundaries depending on who they are. And typically, when it comes to the dominant society, is where they tend to kind of just let certain shit fly. Now, let's kind of go into what happened during this whole funeral thing. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. That fucking funeral was 5 hours long. It might have been over 5 hours even. So I was not about to sit around and watch that entire thing. I did, however, watch the things that were the most important. And then I listened to a few perspectives as well, too, when it came to, the topic of the funeral and whatnot. And, I'll say this personally. The things that a lot of people were talking about were the things that I noticed as well, too. A lot of these people who are in these political realms were in there just talking about politics like Jesse Jackson Jr. asked them not to do. They were in there just doing that. And to be quite honest, that was disrespectful. And most of the individuals who were doing this, if anything, all of the individuals who were doing this were Democrats. Salute to Cool Carlos, the mods, and on the chat, B1 family. Appreciate you coming through, Reparations Nation. So anyway, so I noticed that the Democrats were in there just doing political shit. Okay. So the first thing that I saw Al Sharpton. He was saying some shit about Donald Trump. Then I saw Barack Obama, who also was talking about politics almost just off rip, right? And I don't know about y'all, anybody who actually saw Obama when he was talking during this funeral, it sounded kind of like he poured a little Lawry's on the voice. Like, is it just me? Like, it seemed like he was trying to extra blackify the shit that he was saying. He was talking about, oh, I was in a janky dorm room. Like, y'all don't know about that. I knew about this one dude. Like, it was the way he was. I just didn't like the performativeness. Like, it was like he was putting on extra. Because I listened to the shit that he said more than anybody else. And so to me, I'm just like this is the type of shit that they do. I mean, Obama's not a part of our culture. I mean, he's a motherfucker who's been looking outside of the culture from a damn glass window high up on a tall 15-story building. Like, he doesn't know shit about us. And he's sitting there just emulating a Black cadence, a foundational Black American cadence. He was watching your content and got inspired. That's funny. But yeah, so when it came to Barack Obama, he just, I don't know what he was trying to do, but he was in there like trying to put on the thickest black scent that he could fucking conjure up. So that's one of the things that I noticed. And then Kamala Harris was in there as well too. She was kind of doing the same things, and she was talking about how, we're dealing with a lot. She's talking about the politics and talking about Donald Trump subliminally, and how the only thing that she didn't predict was that Jesse Jackson wouldn't be there to be dealing with it along with all of us as well. So she made the shit political, and Kamala Harris was in there and she was sounding drunk. I don't know if it's just me, but it feels like every time Kamala Harris gets onto a fucking stage, she sounds like she just downed a whole bottle of fucking Jack Daniels. Is it just me? Like, it just feels like every time she gets on stage, she's either tipsy or drunk, and she can barely keep it together. And as she's talking, she's trying to put on a black accent at the same time. She got a little Lawry's on her voice, and and then she'll be doing this little evil feminine cackle. Like, is it just me? Like, it's just like a certain template in the way that she just like talks when she just says shit. So she was doing, my point is, she was doing that in the funeral. So she was there as well too. Now, another thing that I found interesting when I watched this funeral, or the parts of the funeral that I watched, so I could kind of understand what was happening, was the stuff that Joe Biden was saying. And one of the things that I noticed that Joe Biden specifically did, and he did this like right out the gate, y'all. Like, he did this as soon as he just started fucking talking. I mean, this man was already like halfway fucking alive when he was talking in the first goddamn place. I'm like, oh my God, I hope that we don't have two damn funerals. I hope we don't have Jesse Jackson's funeral and damn Joe Biden's funeral, because this motherfucker act like he was barely fucking alive. So there was that. But going back though, so Joe Biden was in there, and he started kind of talking down to the black people that were in there. He was like, I'm smarter than all of you. He said something to that effect. And I'm like, he's talking down to these people. Like, at Jesse Jackson's funeral, Joe Biden is talking down to black people. That's crazy. But here's the thing, y'all. The reason why Joe Biden was talking down to black people at Jesse Jackson Jr. or Jesse Jackson's funeral is because a lot of these old niggas allowed it. They did. Earlier, I had talked about how they have these skewed boundaries. They have these things that they expect their progeny and other people like that to follow, but then they don't have those same boundaries with other people, especially individuals in the dominant society. So they've kind of allowed for this type of thing to happen. They've allowed for this thing to happen where these Democrats can just say fucking random things to them, and just the idea that they're there and they have a certain aesthetic, they just go gaga over that shit. They like that type of stuff. And just to be clear for anybody who has, never watched my content and is first watching this video, and this is their first exposure to me and what I talk about, when I'm talking about the old niggas, I'm particularly talking about the what's left of that silent generation, because a lot of them done croaked, but like what's left of that silent generation, and then a lot of these like baby boomers. Now, again, that's not all. I don't want the all police coming in here and bitching at me about the fact that I just called out a particular generation. But I'm just saying that there's a lot of individuals who fall into these two categories who were doing this buttermilk biscuit bullshit. So that's my point, though. A lot of them allowed that shit to happen because their whole thing is falling for aesthetics, the way things look. I mean, think about the way they dealt with Barack Obama during his presidency. They didn't give a fuck about the fact that there were no tangibles or nothing like that for black people. They just said, he's upstanding, he has, he's classy, and he just gets up there and just says a whole bunch of fucking nothing, and everybody is acting like he's just the best shit smoking. That's because a lot of them, again, as I said before, they fall for aesthetics more than they do tangibles. So a lot of that shit they really allowed, from the jump. I'm gonna be honest with you. Let's see here. Salute, Rap God. Appreciate you. I thought I was quick on the uptake with nicknames. You got me beat leaps and bounds. Dog, I'm telling you, the thing is that so one thing that's important to me, bro, and I'm gonna say this, is to put labels on everything that I say. And the reason why is because, I notice that there's certain behaviors and there are patterns, and this shit keeps showing up. So at a certain point, you just gotta label certain shit that you see. That's why it's important for me to create terms and stuff like that. Because a lot of people, they'll get on social media and they'll be like, don't label this, standing any labels. Stop being so goddamn soft. Don't be soft, motherfucker. If you're doing some shit you shouldn't be doing, then you're going to get criticized for it, and you should be okay with it because you were okay with doing the shit that you were doing. So that's my thing. A lot of people don't like to do this whole label shit because they think that it's mean or it's this or it's that. Fuck all that bullshit. If you're doing some shit that shows up as a pattern that is harmful, especially if it's harmful to the black community, that being foundational black Americans or black people in general, then that shit needs to be called out and that shit needs to be fucking labeled. That's my whole thing. That's why, and that's what this book right here, The one you got, bro, the pro-black blurred series exposing anti-black media tropes the blur way. That book, that the reason why like I made that book too was to kind of start that trend to tell people, hey, you got to label certain things that you see. It can't be just a thing of a this is just mean behavior, this is just rude behavior, this is just inappropriate behavior. Like these things may or may not be true, but they have a specific way that they show up. So you just gotta label shit. So I have no problems with labeling people things, and then if people want to get mad about it, then they can just fucking cry about it. You know, that's my thing, bro. Yeah, my wife said it. People need to be held accountable. The best way to hold somebody accountable is to create something that shows up as a pattern. And when you start doing it, start labeling that people as that shit. Like that's really what it has to turn into. But going back though, with a lot of these old niggas, a lot of them kind of get into this thing where they like to they just care about like the way things look. They don't care about things that are actually helpful. And you can see it in their behavior because a lot of people like they're like, well, it was a hard time for them. They grew up in a time period where this happened and that happened. Fuck all that shit. Because here's the thing. In 2026, you have to ask yourself, what are the old niggas doing? Like even politically. I mean, they don't have to get in the streets and get knocked the fuck over because most of these Negroes are probably like 60 or 70 at this point. But like, what politically are you doing? You're not doing anything politically even. Like, and I keep saying this over and over again until it gets in everybody's head. These old Negroes are only concerned about voting for the Democrats so they can keep getting their prescription at fucking Walgreens. That's really what all they care about. There's so many things that they could have done politically at this point, but they choose not to do it. They choose not to do it. They don't want to stomp for reparations. They don't want to stomp for tangibles for black people. They don't want to stomp for a hate crime bill that helps black people get protected when they're racially mistreated. They don't want to stomp for these things. Matter of fact, they'll say, "Oh, they'll just never give it to us." Okay, so I guess the alternative is being a buttermilk biscuit Sambo. I mean, dude, what? So like they're like, okay, we won't fight for it, so we're just gonna give in. If I can't beat them, then just join their asses. Like that's basically what these niggas are saying. That's why I don't have no respect for it, and that's why I have no problem talking about the old Negroes because they have no problem with selling us the fuck out. Bottom line. So let's see here. While I don't think the act should be politicized, I do believe the world of politics is ultimately theatrical. It is theatrical, but there are particular things that you could get. And the alternative to, hey, it's all bad isn't, well, just give in. That's bullshit. That's a bullshit ass solution. That's what everybody does. Everybody's like, oh, well, it's really bad. There's a lot of shit that's going on. There's a lot of problems in politics. It's always an evil, cruel world. So you ask them what's the solution. And folks, I'm not talking about you, but folks have basically say, oh, well, the solution is just give the fuck in, vote for someone. Just find the lesser of two evils. Man, if you don't get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. Anyway, the point is, I went on a bit of a tangent, but my point here is that a lot of people need to understand that when it comes to politics, there's certain things that you should be trying to advocate for as a group. I'm not saying that you're always going to get it, but there are things that you should be actively advocating for. So when it comes to a lot of these like political things that are being done, we have to, stop looking at, just the way that people kind of show up and present themselves. Because even when, a lot of people will have these political candidates on their platforms and interviewing them and things like that, they'll dance around a lot of shit, or they'll talk about what they can't do, especially when it comes to black people. I mean, you had, Stacey Abrams some years ago. She was on some platform. I can't remember what platform it was on, but she was on some platform about 3-ish years ago, and they were asking her about reparations for black people, and she was in there talking about some it's not something that they would be able to do because black people are only 12 or 13% of the population. So she was in there making excuses already. So that's what I'm saying. Like they already they'll either do one or two things. They either dance around shit that you're asking them that are direct, or they'll just outright deny and they'll say, well, our hands are tied. We can't do anything. Oh my God. So it's that's how they do, man. That's how they do. But that's why it's important, like I said, for us to have people who are advocating for different things that are politically going to be helpful and an aid to Black people, especially foundational Black Americans. That's the most important thing. So if in any instance someone who was a Democrat or someone who was a Republican were to do one of these two things, then they probably would get my support at that point. But if they're not, then they're not going to. And when they do janky shit, I'm going to call their asses out. That's the bottom line. That's what it comes down to. But going back though, yeah, they were just in this funeral and they were doing a lot. They were in there basically using the funeral as a marketing campaign. It's kind of like I noticed that people tend to do this, especially like certain like women that you may have dealt with in the past and shit. Like you ask them not to do this thing or that thing, and they'll either try to negotiate it or they'll just say, "Fuck it, I'm gonna just do it anyway." Like that, they kind of were on that type of shit, right? You know, it's kind of like I was listening. I think it was I want to say it was the brother of Logic and Common Sense. I was listening to one of his videos before, and he was talking about how he used to be an Uber driver. And I think he was talking about how, and I totally related to the story that he told. He was talking about how, you know, when he was an Uber driver, he had strict rules when it came to people getting in his car, because when you drive Uber, a lot of times, like, they want the car to be clean or people get to bitching and all this other stuff. So he wanted his car clean. And so he basically said that he had some woman come up in the car and she had food, and he has a rule against, like, you know, he don't want people eating in his car and shit like that, right? And so she was like trying to negotiate. She was like, "Oh, why? Why can't I do this? Why can't I do that?" Motherfucker, because I said so. Shit, because I said you can't do it. So they'll be trying to negotiate shit, and then it turns into, well, how about this? How about I give you some extra money? No, motherfucker, I said no. I said no. So the next step, when people can't get their way, instead of just saying, you know, instead of like negotiating any longer, or instead of trying to talk that person down or asking thousands of questions in order to try to get them to say, all right, fuck it, just do it, the motherfuckers will just try to do this shit anyway. See, the Democrats, what they did in this situation, they just skipped step 1 and 2, and they said, let me go to step 3, and I'm gonna just do this motherfucking shit anyway. I don't give a fuck what this nigga Jesse Jackson Jr. said. I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna fucking do it. That's what they did. That's literally what they did. So I would be pissed if I was him for that reason, because he literally set the tone from the get-go and said, don't be coming up in here talking about politics. And what do? You get on the stage and you just do the fucking shit any goddamn way. That's what I'm saying. Crossing boundaries and shit just because you just fucking feel like it. You know, boundaries are extremely important. You have to put up boundaries with people because you set, you know, the tone of what you do and do not want to happen, right? So the thing is that, like, when it came to these Democrats, I know damn well that they saw it, because they saw the idea that they were being invited to come through to celebrate Jesse Jackson's legacy. But then they just magically just didn't listen to what the fuck he said about not making it political. Because there's tons of things that they could have said. And they definitely didn't need to be on stage, because I listened to these people talk and they really didn't say shit. I'm going to be honest with you. There was old Negroes hooting and hollering and all this other shit while they were in there. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, they're not saying shit. What is so great? It's like you go into one of those really toxic Black churches and motherfuckers are hooting and hollering and catching the Holy Ghost and throwing blankets on each other and fake speaking in tongues and all this other shit and acting crazy and wild. And it's just a goddamn circus of buttermilk biscuit buffoons. Like, you know, it's kind of like one of them type of things. They fall for that type of shit. They like these little circus acts and all these little like silly things that happen, and they try to act like it's something magical, and it's just fucking not. That's my problem with a lot of these old Negroes. That's the way that they tend to operate. They care a lot of times about, you know, the way things look versus what is actually being said and what is important. So Cognito 47 said, politics have really made people settle for scraps and not real food. I agree 100%. They just do it because they're like, oh, I just have to do it. And then when you hear a lot of propaganda or fear mongering, then people just really buy into it and that type of thing. By the way, I just wanted to stop really quickly, since we are in the middle of this conversation at this point. If you have not already, I would love it if you could just hit the super chat for me. Please hit the super chat for me if you can, and you are enjoying tonight's discussion. So going back to what I was saying, So yeah, a lot of these old Negroes, they allowed a lot of this stuff to happen, and they set the tone. And there's a lot of them that are still doing this shit right now. I mean, I could literally go on Facebook right at this moment, and I guarantee you I'll see at least 3 to 4 people saying some Democratic shill political shit. And at this point, it's not even, and I'll say this too, it's not even just old niggas. It's a lot of people who I went to high school and college and all them motherfuckers that I went to school with. A lot of them will be on that type of stuff. And the reason why is because they were raised by these old Negroes who had these types of mentalities. So that's why I say that a lot of them have really been just the bane of black existence. I mean, they don't do shit. The motherfuckers just they accept like bullshit ass mistreatment and condescending talk from white politicians like Joe Biden. They sell out their kids, and then the motherfuckers when they get older don't do anything fucking politically, and so that they'll sit up in there up in a funeral, and they'll listen to these people babble and act like it's just the second fucking coming of Jesus. So that's why, yeah, like there's no reason to respect these old ass bastards if they're just gonna act like that. Again, there's a difference between an elder and an old nigga, and the problem is we got too many damn old niggas. That's really what it all comes down to. Let's see. There's a reason why young generations with that don't respect older blacks. They come off weak and passive. They are weak and passive. You're absolutely right. They are. Like they come off weak and passive because they don't have anything to fucking show for it. And then they expect to still be respected. A lot of them do. Now, again, is it like if you have elders, I mean, they're cool and they're a wealth of knowledge and stuff like that. And I'm not saying don't love these people, but you sure as fuck don't have to just respect individuals who act like that. What's respectable about sitting in a fucking funeral and watching somebody babble and then disrespect somebody who just told them to not do the thing they're doing and acting like it's the best shit smoking? These motherfuckers, I'm gonna be honest with you, they don't, it's not even like they're cheering for the things that person is saying. They're cheering for noise. They just like the idea that somebody is just there speaking. They just like the fact that Barack Obama is in front of them making noise. They like the fact that Kamala Harris is in front of them making noise. They like that type of bullshit. Hell, they like Joe Biden because these are the same motherfuckers who were sitting around and basically making excuses and stuff like that for when he said, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black. And I'll tell you, going back to the whole Facebook thing, there were tons of people when Joe Biden said that, and my wife knows that. Actually, I'm going to be honest with you. Some people who she's associated with have actually said this shit. But like, I'll see them go on Facebook and say shit like, well, he was right. He was right. I saw some of them go in and them saying that. Oh, well, he was right when he said that. He was right when he said that. These motherfuckers have been brainwashed, to be honest with you. So, and then like, if you're black and you listen to these like platforms like the Breakfast Club and places like that, then like you'll see that they're not standing on business either. Because when Joe Biden went up there to the Breakfast Club, I mean, he literally got in Charlemagne's face and he basically didn't say anything to him. He said it right to Charlemagne. Matter of fact, when Charlemagne said something about being critical of Joe Biden, he was like, "You don't know me." He basically said, "You don't know me, nigga." That's basically what he said when he was there. So I'm just saying, like, they even set the tone further for individuals who really don't have their eyes open and don't think about these types of things, and like they'll like when they set that precedent, they'll follow on. So yeah. Let's see here. They're the type that settled for Joe Biden, who said everyone poor black child can succeed like every rich white kid. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they'll fall for that type of shit. They really set the tone. So that's why, some of us like I'm a millennial. I don't know about any of y'all. I know everybody's kind of all across the board. I got some X followers. I got some millennial followers. I got some Z followers. I'm a millennial, right? And what I found when it came to my generation is that we're kind of split. There's some of us who are on code, and there's some of us who are showing signs of being on the Sambo train. Or you'll have like these Negroes who like will act like they might not be on the Sambo train, but they damn sure are when you hear some of the shit that they say and the shit that they do, So I'm a millennial as well, born in 19. Yes, same here. Yep. So yeah, I am as well. So the exact same year, dang. But going back though, so yeah, no, I'm a millennial as well. And what I've noticed is that we're kind of split. Some of us are on code and some of us aren't. And I think it's because a lot of these Negroes who were in Gen X, like that's when it started to kind of taper off and change a bit, because I noticed that there's a lot of baby boomers who weren't on code. but some of the uncodedness started around Generation X, from what I see, and it continued into millennial. But there's still like this issue of people kind of being raised by those baby boomers. Because like for example, my mom's a baby boomer. Like, and there's a lot of millennials who have baby boomer parents who are even older than my mom is. You know, and there's some millennials who have ex-parents, but most of them, I would say, probably have baby boomer parents. And a lot of these Negroes are off code. So when you're raised by somebody who's off code, naturally you're going to become off code as well too, unless somebody rewires your fucking cerebellum. So my parents are baby. Yep, exactly. Mine are too. So that's what I'm saying though. Like if that's who you're taught by, then unless you have something that happens that teaches you to think differently, then you're going to think just like the people who raised you. Which if a baby boomer is raising you, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be honest with you, they were Samboing, and they're probably going to have you Samboing. I'm just going to be real. Like 8 or 9 times out of 10, 8 or 9. Every now and again, you'll get 1 or 2 here or there who are on code, and you're like, okay, that's what's up, you know. But for the most part, like a lot of them are really off code, you know. So, and that generation specifically is really bad about it, because I'll see some, like I've heard about like some of these silent people being cool, being dope. But I'm just, that baby boomer generation, I don't know what the fuck happened there. I really don't know what the fuck happened there. Had a baby boomer parent told me that, you know why people hate blacks, because we lazy and we are envious people. Hold on one second. Because we lazy and we are envious people, grandson. They have miserable marriages and kids don't talk to them on average with these guys. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what ends up happening as well too. And when a lot of us kind of start to kind of just see how the world really is, how racist it is, and you know how the fact that it hasn't changed, it actually has turned into a different form. You know, you can't really relate to these individuals who are acting like, you know, first of all, shit is normal, and number 2, like they haven't done shit to try to rectify things. You know, and if they have, they've given up and they just allowed you to kind of just deal with the repercussions of them not trying to create things. Most boomers were off code. I'm late Gen X, born in 77, really a zennial. And yes, my parents taught me to Sambo, and I had to realize and teach myself not to. Absolutely. Like very relatable. Besides the Gen X, because I'm not Gen X, besides that, I can relate 1000%. You know, you have to kind of almost like reteach yourself, you know, from the way that they program you to think. Let's see. Boomers were the first to get interracial sexual act. I said the same shit, bro. I said the same thing. Interracial sexual access and all of these like other like benefits that they thought they were getting from the dominant society, and they just straight up just sold us out. And then sit with white folks so they didn't have to fight for much else. That's why they such say exactly. I kid you not, they sound just like Uncle Ruckus. They do. And you can't tell them shit, because I've had people ask me that before. They're like, when it comes to a lot of these like kind of older folks and them you know, getting them on code and getting them to stop samboing and that type of thing, what is your advice for them? And I said, charge their asses to the fucking game. You can't tell them shit. Like, they are who they are. Like, charge them to the fucking game. You can love them or love them from a distance, or not love them at all if you don't love them, but charge them to the game when it comes to the whole pro-black thing. You're not going to convert them. You're not going to change them. You're not going to, like, you know, you're not going to make them feel or think differently. If anything, they're going to try to use it deceptively against you, and they're going to act like they're on code. Because I've seen that a lot too. A lot of them will act like they're on code and they'll act engaged, and that's because they're trying to siphon a little bit of respect from you and that type of thing. Fuck all that bullshit. They are not learning from you. Their asses are just off code, and you got to say fuck them. That's really what it comes down to. There's no solution to it. Say fuck them. The solution is go to hell with them. Like, that's really what it comes down to. And I'm not saying like go and cuss them out or chew them out. I'm just saying when it comes to convincing them to think differently, just that's a waste of your time. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, going back to this funeral. So after everything that happened, after the Democrats acted up at this funeral and all this other stuff happened, Jesse Jackson Jr. called them out. He said they don't know his dad, and he seemed very displeased by what happened. And you can look at his family too and tell that they were also not pleased by what happened as well. And the thing is that a lot of people, when they heard this, Somebody said a funeral or pep rally. I'm done. That's funny though. It basically was a pep rally because it was just a bunch of niggas in there just yelling, and all these other white political candidates just saying just whatever. And then these old Negroes were just in there hooting and hollering and thinking that shit was cool. Because like I said, they do that shit because they think it's acceptable because those niggas set the standard that it was acceptable. So that's what that is. But last thing I'll see. Okay, so I done gave up on my entire family. I feel you. They don't listen about being on code. They don't listen about self-defense. They simply are happy finding a safe space under white supremacy. So it's a wrap with them. I 1000% agree and can relate to you on that. And like I said, it's a combination of things. Some of them, from what I've seen with my own family, it's a combination of shit. Some of them are just totally off code. Some of them are pretending like they're on code and then they're not, and they do other shit. Like some of them will start trying to talk pro-black, and then they'll go and their asses will go and vote for the damn Democrats just because, and then it's a lot of like fear talk and negative talk and all this other shit. So yeah, I'm with you 1000% on that. Like after a while, you just got to say fuck them. A lot of these Negroes just want complacency in the system of white supremacy. They don't want to dismantle it or replace it with a system of justice. That's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to talk about. And that's why platforms like mine are important, because that's what we're doing here. But these individuals, they don't want to do that type of shit. They don't care about that. So you're absolutely right. As a black man, you are only in a functional family if you are average and beneath your father and mother in ambition and beauty. You have to boot them off. I ignore my family entirely. Hey, listen, everybody is kind of saying the same things. I'm with it. I mean, yeah, you got to at a certain point, especially as a black man, because after a while, you got to start setting certain standards and stuff like that, and standing 10 toes down on things that they may not agree with, that just aren't, that you just can't get down with. So it's one thing to be a woman and you're looking to potentially be led by somebody who gives good guidance and leadership, versus being the man who's trying to create a certain form of leadership. You can't do that being underneath your parents and they're, on some Sambo shit. You just can't do that. You have to kind of get away from them and start thinking about things differently and learning about history and learning about what's happening now and starting to find ways to fight back. That's what you have to be on. But going back though, but yeah, when it comes to this this funeral, he was not pleased. Jesse Jackson Jr. was not pleased with what happened. He was not pleased with what the Democrats did. He was not pleased that they basically said fuck his boundaries. He had something to say about it. And one thing that I noticed, there were a lot of people who were in there saying, he should have expected that. It's his fault because he left them in there and all sorts of stuff. I hate when people do that. I just got to say that. I hate when people do that silly ass shit. The reason why I hate when people do that is because they're doing three things. And this is a quick communication debate strategy lesson for a lot of you all who are in the comments right now listening. He was doing the people who say this, they were doing a combination of three different things. They were following three fallacies that people do sometimes. Number one, the just world fallacy. Number two, the red herring fallacy. And number three, victim blaming. Whenever somebody does that, they're already on some intellectual dishonesty type shit. First of all, when it comes to the just world fallacy, this is basically that fallacy that where you have this mentality that good things happen to good people, bad things happen to bad people. So if you did a certain thing that landed you negative results, it was on you. It's just not fucking logical. People act like that's logical, but it isn't. Some people there's two sides to. There's really three sides to every story: yours, theirs, and the truth. But there's two sides to faults. Okay, there's things I could have done to prevent you doing some bullshit, but there's also you not doing the bullshit as well too. So that's bullshit. The red herring thing is also, for those of you all who do not know, a red herring is when somebody deviates to a different argument in order to answer an argument that's made. So, for example, if I go into a grocery store and I say, I'm used to getting this certain type of broccoli, like a broccolini, and I don't see the broccolini there. Why does this store no longer carry broccolini? And then, I'm with a friend or somebody and they come up to me and they're like, well, why don't you just get cauliflower instead of complaining about the broccoli? What the fuck does that have to do with why the store doesn't carry motherfucking broccolini? That's a red herring. Like you're trying to deviate to some other shit because of the argument that I had just made, and you don't know how to fucking answer it. And then it's victim blaming, of course. You're going and you're blaming somebody for something that somebody else basically did. So, like, imagine somebody gets SA'd by someone and then they haven't healed from it. And then all of a sudden you blame them for not healing instead of the person who actually did it in the first place. That's bullshit. Like, no, they did that to them. No, that's just bullshit. So a lot of people are going and they're saying that, he shouldn't have did this, he shouldn't have did that. He made the rules very clear. And these motherfuckers know when they can and cannot do stuff. Whenever there is a black death, there is a black celebrity, an activist, whoever it may be, and they have a death, they go in there and they treat their death and their funeral and that type of thing like it's a marketing campaign. It's an opportunity for them to be able to use that as a platform to spread their political agendas. But they wouldn't do that necessarily if it was somebody in the dominant society. If it was a famous white person who died, they wouldn't go in there and they wouldn't do that bullshit. They like to do it on black platforms because they think that black platforms are the space where they can get politically deep and they can actually spread the agendas that they want to spread. That's some bullshit. So, yeah. So, yeah, that's what a lot of people were on. So I'm not down with that shit. But yeah, I hate when people do that. And people tend to do this because they tend to not want to give accountability to those who actually do wrong. They just want to give accountability to those who don't protect themselves when others do wrong. So I think we've gotten away from that. That's why this whole conversation was about me pointing out who basically had fault in all of this. He set the tone. Like, there was nothing wrong with inviting people in, especially when you're a well-known, when your father is a well-known person. You already know that people are going to find out about it any goddamn way. But if you're inviting them in, you're setting ground rules for what you do not want them to do. And these motherfuckers came in and they just did that shit any fucking way. So that's why I'm saying, like, I don't really blame him. I think that he did what he could do, especially knowing who his dad was, people knowing his dad, and then how people may respond. But what it did was it showed that there was a lot of fakeness, because these individuals weren't rocking with Jesse Jackson the way that they were trying to make it seem like. They, again, were trying to pipeline it into a way to spread their political agendas. That's really all it came down to. And again, I'm not being a hardcore Jesse Jackson defender, but I think that what happened there was totally disrespectful, and it just needs to be called out. I'm going to be honest with you. Let's see here. What are people saying? Most of our women be teaching these sons to hate black men and teach black women to hate black men and boys, and are on code with each other against black manhood. That's sisterhood BS. So, sorry, I want to say something about that. And I've talked about this on my channel, channel multiple times, but there's a difference between black women and shea butter sambas. So I put individuals like that into the category of shea butter sambas, or the action was a shea butter action. And shea butter sambas, and I think somebody put it perfectly in my comments one day. They said, so basically a shea butter samba is a well dressed up misandrist, or they said something like that. I'm like, yeah, that is what they are. That basically is what they are. There's a lot of shea butter sambas walking around, and they're trying to increase the number of shea butter sambas that basically are walking around and exist. Because there are sisters who are on code. They're just hard to find because they're getting overshadowed by a lot of shea butter mess, to be honest with you. That's what I truly think is happening with that, because I see that as well too. It's a lot of sisters that are kind of on that BS, but that's because a lot of them are shea butter sambas. But and there's different like classifications and categories of shea butter sambas as well too. So it's and I talked about this in a previous video as well too, but it shows up a lot because in media they try to politicize that a little bit more. So you're going to see those types of images, and then when you watch TV shows and movies, that's the way that they tend to portray black women. And so in a way, while it also misportrays them, it also teaches them. So I think there's a couple different things that are going on when this type of thing does happen. So going back though, that's basically what happened with that. I saw that and I was like, this whole thing was disrespectful. And to be honest with you, these individuals are simply just evil. It's evil to basically act like someone's death is just a way for you to spread your agenda and to have an opportunity, like just use it as an opportunity to market yourself. We have to make it a thing where we call out the individuals who allowed this to happen. And we also, at the same time, make it clear that it happening is not cool. That's why I said the main targets for this are the old niggas that are sitting there hooting and hollering and cheering and eating buttermilk biscuits while they're watching these motherfuckers on stage. And then calling out the motherfuckers on stage, that being the Democrats who did this disrespectful shit. Because here's the thing. With us, a lot of us who are coming up are us millennials. I'm not even going to talk to the Gen X at this point anymore because they're about to step into that older role soon. But speaking to millennials and even Generation Z, we have to set the tone. And part of setting the tone is letting them know, hey, that shit may fly with my mama and my daddy who let that shit go on and think that shit was cool. But that shit's not cool with us. Okay. Y'all can't come onto our spaces and just be talking crazy to us and shit and talking about a whole bunch of nothing and not giving us anything and then doubling down and then being condescending. Like, you can't do that shit with us because we're going to tell you to basically go to shit. That's what we're basically going to tell you. So we got to set the tone. That's all I'm saying. We need to set the tone and let them know that shit is not cool with us, because eventually we're going to be the ones that they're catering more to. Because a lot of people, when they talk about the Black community, they talk about it like in a general sense when they talk about us allowing certain things. They don't give it context. That's why labels are important to me, because we need to give labels to the specific Black people that are allowing this type of thing to go on. My personal thought process here is the people who allow this to go on are these old Negroes. I'm talking about the foundational Black American society. The old niggas are the main ones who are allowing this to go on, which is why they think it's okay. And we need to call them out. Okay. That's very, very important because we're setting the standard for the future. And there's other kids that are coming up that are watching us and are watching the things that we do and the example that we set. Okay. That's very, very important here. You see, us delineating is good at setting the tone, which is unlike these people trying to make it be African so everyone can try to erase us as well. Yet delineation is important as well too. And we should also call out when people are tethering, right? Which is different than just being, somebody who is an immigrant and is just Black and is on code. Because there are a lot of brothers and sisters from the diaspora who stand in solidarity with foundational Black Americans, but there are a lot who be tethering, and we need to call their motherfucking asses out as well too. It's really just as simple as that. So yeah, the tethers and the old niggas. It's very, very important. Let's see. Hey, Cool Colos in chat. Sorry I'm late. No, don't apologize. Come on in. We appreciate you coming through. Let's see here. My comment didn't post. Oh, not good. What did you say? What did you say, Justice? But yeah, going back though, yeah, we have to set the standard, y'all. We have to basically call out this type of thing because there's a lot of people, like, especially when I first started calling out old niggas, they were like, don't you think that's disrespectful to the elders, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, fuck them. I'm not talking about the elders. I'm talking about old niggas. I'm talking about individuals who literally sold us out, who do not care about the well-being of young people. They care about having somebody around who might be able to take care of their old asses. No, I do not care about talking shit about a bunch of old ass bastards who I don't respect. No, I do not feel bad about that. But when it comes to elders, I will say there's a difference between having an elder and having an old nigga. The problem is that there's so many goddamn old niggas. The elders, again, are getting drowned out. I feel like the same thing that happens with, the old niggas is the same thing that happens with the shea butter sambas. Everybody's like, oh, Black women, oh, elders. No. Shea butter sambas and old niggas are the problem, not elders and Black women. Shea butter sambas and old niggas. It's like it's almost like a pyramid of coonery going on. It's like the old niggas, then it's the shea butter sambas, then it's just regular sambas. No. Sorry. I gotta back up. It's tethers, then it's like old niggas. It's tethers and old niggas almost side by side. Then it's shea butter sambas underneath them. Then it's just your typical sambo. It's like a pyramid of Sambos. I don't know what to call it, but that's generally how they show up. They say, what I will never understand is how the community, most of the community, really failed to understand just how many people do not like us. Do you believe it's worth it to start speaking about this? Or you said really failed to understand just how many people do not like us. I think it's worth to, yeah, I definitely think it's worth it. I mean, I talk about it all the time. I think it's very important, especially now that this conversation about, the black and brown coalition is kind of going on, and people are like, wait, are the Latinos with us or are they not? I thought that they was. I thought that they was in solidarity with us. It was the black and brown coalition. Like, no. We don't have allies. We do not have allies. We have us. We have us. There may be a few riders in the diaspora, but for the most part, we have us. That's really what it kind of comes down to. But yes, it is worth calling that out. That should be called out. And I think that when it is called out, there should be examples used to call out these individuals. So to your point, absolutely. I think there is merit in doing that. Because again, the thing that's important here is we need to teach people, because there are kids who are watching us. They're watching the stuff that we say and that we do. And in order for us to set a good example, a lot of us need to be able to call out when people are doing shit that they shouldn't do. That's an important part of being on code. Part of being on code is calling out coonery and calling out who our enemies are. That's a good part of regulating who is in your circle. I've talked about this before a lot on my channel. When it comes to your friends, the people in your circle, the people you associate yourself with, and that type of thing, you always want to audit your circle and look at who is there. And I'm not talking about whether or not they're weak, down bad, that type of thing. I mean, are they cooning? Like, are these individuals who, are in things for themselves? I talk about this shit all the fucking time. But the same goes for cultural disrespect and racism. You want to look at these individuals and see how they are or are not with you when it comes to you trying to seek justice. And what a lot of us have come to find is that a lot of these other buffer groups, and of course the dominant society, are simply not with us in trying to achieve tangibles for foundational Black Americans or Black people in general. Do I think that Black culture should be gatekept? Yes, without question, yes. Without question, fucking yes. And the reason why is because if you don't gatekeep the culture, it lets in people who want to do what I call the intellectual property theft hustle. So what that means is people can come into your culture, steal it, and make profits of it, and even say that it's theirs. And that has happened in multiple instances. You see this with hip hop. You see this with a lot of inventions. You see this with a lot of these dances that we do. You see this with a lot of food. You see a lot of times where people take the things that we do and then go back and say it's theirs. And then the way that they try to prove it's theirs is they'll say, oh, I'll pay money for a patent. And all of a sudden they done trademarked it. They patented it. They've copywritten it. They love to do that type of stuff. They do that type of stuff because they want to basically say it was theirs, even if we were the ones who made it, so they can continue to keep making money off of it. They do that with everything. Hell, it's even down to the fucking things that we say. I told y'all before in one of the videos that I did, the video I think was called "They Love the Culture, but They Hate Us." And in that video, I talked about how even when I watched WWE a couple years ago, I think it was back either in 2022 or 2023, they had this campaign that they did for the WWE 2K22 game. And with this game, they had a slogan and it said, "It hits different." The minute they said that shit, it killed the statement, "It hits different" for me. Like, I stopped using, like, my wife can even tell you, I used to say, it hits different all the time, because her and I told y'all before, we're big foodies. I am not ashamed to say I'm a big ass foodie. I love to go and try different foods in different places. It don't matter what culture it is either. I just like to try different things. And so every time that I would get new food and it was good, it was dope, I would be like, this hits different. I used to say that. But as soon as I saw it on the WWE campaign, I stopped that shit. Because she don't even hear me say it no more. Because I'm like, it's cringy now, because the minute that they start touching shit, they fuck it up. So it don't even sound right to say it no more, So yeah, it's absolutely paramount that we gatekeep the shit that we do. Because if you don't gatekeep it, that's how you end up with M&M's and the Nick dude who like fucking was stealing the shit from tenderism, and like and the people who had fucking KFC. Like that's how you get them. When you don't gatekeep things, you get that. You know, it becomes like this new thing of patent theft. In the past, they used to steal black patents. Like when a lot of us would create inventions, they would steal it. So now it's like they'll try to do it with every fucking thing. So if you don't gatekeep, then they'll just go on and steal whatever it is that we make. And as we make more things, they steal more things. And then they'll say that it was them. I mean, they're already doing it implicitly when it comes to movies and TV shows. That's why they write, you know, different characters with allegories that relate to black culture. I mean, think about, like, for example, the Rocky movie. The Rocky movie was really about like the great white hope, but it included a lot of black elements. So they had this white boy who was getting beat down at first by this big black dude, and then eventually, you know, he bested him. You know, it's because there was elements of looking at people like Muhammad Ali, and I believe that Apollo Creed was supposed to be like a symbol of Muhammad Ali, and they're showing that he's slaying him. So when these motherfuckers can't get over, even from a patent standpoint, they implicitly try to get over by putting allegories in movies and then making money from it. So they do that type of shit. So let's see, you get grifters like John Cena and Drake. Yes, exactly. John Cena is an excellent example. John Cena built his whole career off of the backs of black people and literally gave nothing back to black people. And I'm gonna keep saying that in his retirement, because here's the thing with John Cena. And I watched his wrestling, I've watched his matches. John Cena, if not for black people, would be a throwaway wrestler, because John Cena is like a C- wrestler, maybe D+. You know, he's not a great wrestler. Everybody knows he is not a great wrestler. If he didn't use that mouthpiece, which really he got from kind of talking in black cadences, and now he can just be a regular white boy. Like, if it wasn't for that, he wouldn't be shit. He wouldn't have 17 fucking championships, like main belt championships, that is. What they did was they made him the Eminem of WWE. Well, that gimmick came from Vince. John just did it. It don't matter who it came from. I'm going to be honest. It don't matter who the hell it came from. You know, the reality is that they both came from white people. They both came from people who are not a part of our culture. And they allowed, and the thing is that even if we want to say that he just did it and that's it, he's still complicit. You know, he didn't have to do it. Nobody put a gun to his fucking head. He knew that shit was going to make him a whole bunch of money. And it still didn't lead to him doing anything for black people. So that's my thing. Like, it did. So to me, like, it doesn't matter who it came from, because all the motherfuckers are stealing from black culture. Shit, one person in dominant society versus a different person. That's it. John Cena has said that he got that You Can't See Me from Tony Ayo. Hey, the damage was done. The damage was done. And it still goes back to my point, which is that he still hasn't put on it for any black people. So even if he now admits it or whatever, it doesn't really matter. We know, motherfucker, you're just stating a fact. We know. Like, what if somebody stole from you, right? And then later like somebody came into your house, right? And they stole your MacBook. And then, you know, they later used it to, I don't know, like start typing up a bunch of shit. And then they made money using your MacBook. And then later they were like, yeah, I the reason why I was able to make money was because I was doing a lot of stuff, you know, on the MacBook that I stole from this person. So, like, you're just telling a fact. Like, okay, like, congratulations. Like, so no, you don't get credit for that shit. Let's see here. He's way richer than Tony. He is, off of using his shit. But he's not the only one. I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, Ric Flair did it. Dusty Rhodes did it. Low key, people aren't talking about it, but Mayonnaise Barbie is doing it as well too. That Tiffy time, I believe that shit came from like a basketball player or some shit. That Tiffy time shit. So, and even if you listen to her intro, it has like a black cadence to it. And what's funny is her ass is racist. Like, and that not only do they allow them to take it, they often put these gimmicks on people who are racist. Ric Flair was racist. Dusty Rhodes was definitely racist. So they put it on people who are racist too. So yeah, they have no shame. So yeah, I don't give a fuck who did it. I don't care if it was Vince or John Cena. I don't give a fuck who did it. But yeah, but anyway, y'all, I'm gonna get up out of here. I just wanted to make sure that I came on here and I did this video and I chopped it up with y'all. Before you get up out of here, I would love it if you were to hit the super chat for me, if you can. Before we get up out of here, if you enjoyed tonight's discussion, a couple different things that I also wanted to tell you all real quick. I will potentially be doing a speech on Juneteenth if I don't have something else planned. I'll let y'all know the details, but I've been thinking about this, and over time I'll kind of give you all a little bit more information on kind of what's up with that. But I wanted to say that I'll have some new membership videos out soon. I'm going to be working on them starting tomorrow. I may shoot maybe one or so. I just got to kind of see what time is looking like, because there's a lot of stuff going on in my world that I want to try to get together. But yeah, either way, I appreciate you all tonight. I feel like we had a great discussion today, talked about a lot of different things. And yeah, definitely stay tuned, y'all. There's going to be some more videos to come starting on Monday. And I'll give you all a poll so you can vote on the next topic that you all would like to hear. All right, y'all. I hope y'all have a good night, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace out.